Yo, welcome back to Son of a Preacher Man. As always, I'm your host, Soapman's in the house. In my last episode, we talked about the end of King David's reign. Towards the end of King David's reign, he had a series of battles with the Philistines. And he ran into giants. The four giant brothers of Goliath, that is, specifically. Yeah, David took out the big kahuna, but there were four remaining giants lingering. The four remnant giant brothers of Goliath. And one of these giant brothers of Goliath, Ishbi-Benob, had David on the ropes, almost was about to kill David. And Abishai's nephew David, came to his rescue and succored him. Now I'm just going to do a quick 5-minute recap, so just bear with me, okay? 2 Samuel chapter 23 verse 1 reads, "Now these be the last words of David." And I put that in the last episode to let you know his reign came to an end and he died, okay? He died at a ripe old age of, I believe it was 70 if I'm not mistaken, you know? And hey, the man did good for himself for the 70 years that he was on this earth. What can you say? He passes into not just history, but legend. The man achieved legendary status. I posed the question in the last episode, how did he do it? What made him so special? You have this tiny nation, this confederation of 12 tribes forming a tiny, tiny nation that why were they so special? How were they able to wield such power and influence in the Middle East? And even around the world, and even for so long, even to this day, we still talking about them. They're still relevant. And David is the pinnacle of the career of these people. He is the success story of the Israelite nation. What made him so special, I ask. I often ask people, what does it mean when God is on your side? Now, I'm not taking away anything from David's personal attributes, but I propose that one of the things that David had going on for him was the help that he had. The supporting character, the supporting cast, the Robin to the Batman, if you will. And I made an episode all dedicated just to this select few of people that I don't feel get their share of the spotlight. You know what I mean? So I made an episode dedicated to the homies. And we started off with King David, because what you have is this force. Behind the success story, you have this force, you have this manpower. And it starts with the king. He spearheads this whole thing. And I talked about why David deserves to be king, okay? And we started off talking about his relationship with God. And one of the things I didn't go into that I wanted to go into in more detail was what David says in 2 Samuel chapter 22 verses 28. He says, "But thine eyes are upon the haughty, that thou mayest bring them down." Now, what does that mean? Well, what that means is David had figured out part of the equation of getting in good with God. He figured out the secret, and what that secret was to be humble. Be humble, like your boy Kendrick Lamar said. Be humble. That's what he figured out. He says, "But thine eyes are upon the haughty, that thou mayest bring them down." Now, here's the thing. I think David was naturally humble. I think David was naturally a humble dude. So even though he figured out this secret part to the equation, It wasn't something that he had to force himself or try to do. He was just naturally that way. But David knew that that was one of the secrets into getting it on God's good side, for lack of better words, okay? And we also talked about how, David had the flavor even before he fought Goliath, even before he was discovered. This soldier in King Saul's army describes this kid that he met, okay? And these are facts. This isn't just stuff I'm pulling out. This isn't my opinion. This is scripture. And this soldier talks about how he knows this kid who's good at playing the harp. You know, he's cute. He's prudent. He calls him a man of war and a mighty valiant man, and says that God is with him. What did he see in this kid that he came across? And that's that special thing. That's that thing. When you say God is with somebody, you're not always talking about something intangible. You're not talking about luck. These are physical, tangible attributes of this kid. He's cute. He's smart. This dude says he's a man of war. This cute, smart kid is dangerous, but he doesn't look like it. And that's one of the attributes. That's one of the things that I think David has going for him. That's one of the positives. That's one of the pluses he has going for him. He doesn't quite look like what he is. This kid is a jaguar, and he looks and comes across as a bunny rabbit. Do you remember me just telling you he figured out one of the key elements to getting in good with God? This kid is humble. He doesn't got his chest out bragging about all the tail he didn't whoop. This kid, he's talking, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, have a great day, howdy doody. This dude's a cold-blooded killer if he decides to be. He talks about how he kills a lion and a bear with a stick, separate occasions, but he saves a lamb out of the predator's mouth right before he kills him. The lion steals one of his father's sheep. David saves the lamb and kills the lion. A bear steals one of his father's sheep. David once again saves the lamb, kills the bear, both times with a stick. This boy is nice. This boy is Michelle Yeoh with the staff. This boy is Jet Li. This boy is Jackie Chan. This boy is all 300 members of the Wu-Tang Clan. What I'm trying to get across to you, and not being facetious about it, is this man is an enigma. He is dangerous. He is a killer. For God's sakes, he killed a lion and a bear with a stick. Need I say more? But that's not David's weapon of choice. When he goes to fight Goliath, he's a slingshotter. And we talked about how David came from a specific area that was famous for slingshotters. I compared him to the comic book character Bullseye, who never missed. These are facts, except for the part about Bullseye. I just added that in. But these are facts. These are scriptures. It's not something I made up or my opinion. Think about this. David went to fight a damn near 10-foot tall monstrosity of a man with 5 rocks. 5, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have took a ton of rocks. And think about Goliath. He sees this obscure, innocent-looking, childlike kid approaching him with no armor. He's a behemoth. He's a Hulk-like man. He sees this kid, and it looks as though the fight is lopsided. But the fact of the matter is, God is on this person's side. God means for it to look lopsided. God knows what he created in David. He knows that he's enveloped this killer in this cute young man's body. God knows what he's doing. We have the benefit of having 20/20 hindsight. We know David's a killer. Before he fights Goliath, he kills a lion and a bear. But put yourself in Goliath's shoes. This is what he sees. A cute, unarmed kid with no armor, no shield, inexperienced, coming out to fight him. Goliath doesn't even take him seriously. He says, come on, guys, come on. He doesn't even take him seriously. He has no idea the blunder he's making. He asked him, he said, what is that, a stick? He came out here to fight me with a stick while Goliath is jeering and making fun. He has no idea he's in the ring with an absolute serpent. But David knows, and put yourself in David's shoes. David's having a surreal episode. He can't believe it. He's telling himself, come on, big guy, come on. Make it easy for me. Stick your neck, stretch your neck out under the guillotine, which is me. David knows exactly who he is and what he's capable of, and Goliath's making himself easy chicken dinner. The rest is history. He catches Goliath with his guard down, and he makes short work of this giant and is easily, instantly, immediately catapulted into rock star status. So I just took the time to go through all that to tell you, David deserves to spearhead this movement. But he doesn't do it alone. We talked about his mighty men. We talked about his supporting cast. We talked about this great talent that he had surrounding him. This manpower that is driving this machine that is going to end up being so successful that we're still talking about it thousands of years later. And so we started off talking about Yashabin. Now, this was by far the baddest dude in David's army. We talked about, like Samson, he destroyed swaths of men. The Bible says that he wasn't strong like Samson, lifting doors off of gates, but Yashabin killed 800 men at one time with a spear. What was this dude standing on a large rock just picking them off like salmon in a river? This dude is unbelievable, but behind him in a close second was Eleazar. Now, they didn't say how many people Eleazar picked off, but it talked about how Eleazar smote his enemies until he was weary. By himself smote his enemies, and the Bible says he smote his enemies till he was so weary that his hand clung to his sword. My. What a man. I would have quit long before that. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you indulging me for that long recap. Son of a Preacher Man proudly presents to you the second book of Samuel, part God knows what, 17. The homies. They don't quite get the props that they deserve. Believe me. Believe me when I say you can't do it alone in this world. David was highly, mucho successful, but he didn't do it alone, and we touched on that back in the last episode. Ladies and gentlemen, when you got one individual killing 800 men at one time, the individuals within your army are one-man army. You have armies within your army. The Bible says, these be the names of the mighty men whom David had. It's letting you know he didn't do it alone. He had help. And we talked about the baddest of the baddest, killing 800 men. The next in line smote men till his hand was weary. And today we move on to this third individual, and we're going to start in 2 Samuel chapter 23, 8 through 14, and it reads, "And after him," meaning Eleazar, "and after him Shammah, the son of Agi the Hararite. And the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils. And the people fled from the Philistines, but he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory." Now, folks, this Shammah, son of Agi the Hararite. And if you notice, I got Ag in big, bold, red print, because that's my last name. This man might well be my progenitor. It's fitting that my ancestor would accomplish such a feat. I'm not saying we have like definitive proof like 23andMe, or you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we have, Ancestry.com type of evidence. What I am telling you is the Bible says this man astonished and astounded when the rest of the help fled. Folks, let me tell you, the folks in Israel, they no stranger to running. Look at the men in the background of this slide I've provided you, because it's why I've provided it for you. What you see is Shammah chasing away the enemy, and his contemporaries, his comrades, are hiding. They ran, if you couldn't figure it out. They ran, and he didn't. He stayed, and he smote and left smitten. And what I'm telling you is, this is possibly my great 10 times to the 10th power removed granddaddy. And it's fitting. It's fitting. He passed those genes down. The genes where you don't run and whoop tail while your friends hide. He passed, if not but just a smidget, if not but just a chromosome. I feel it. Anyways, let's not go off on a tandem. Shammah, the son of Ag, my great removed granddaddy on my mama's side. It says he stood his ground in a field of lentils while his boys ran. And he cleaned house. This is one of David's mighty men. And he's the fourth character. He's the third character that we talk about. Now, this next group, because remember, each one of these characters, the Bible's, he doesn't say this about each one of them, but they're one of three. Soapman is telling you each person that we talk about, these first 5 individuals that we talk about, are one of three, okay? And it says that Shammah, the son of Agi the Hararite, defended a piece of ground full of lentils. It says, and the people fled from the Philistines, but he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory. And 3 of the 30 chief went down, it says, and came to David in the harvest time, unto the cave of Adullam. And the troop of the Philistines pitched in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in an hold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. Okay, so I'm going to break this down for you, don't worry. This next 3, look at me for a sec. These next 3 individuals, they come as a group. They fight as a group. There's no one that's greatest out of the 3. They fight as 3, okay? So I'm just, spoiler alert, okay? 2 Samuel chapter 23, verses 15 through 17 reads, and David longed and said, let me set the scene for you. David, this is back in the day, okay? When David's coming up, it's not being specific whether he's king or not. But some of these mighty men have been with David since before he was king, since when he was on the run from the former king, King Saul. And so it doesn't specify exactly what time period this is, but he's out hiding in a cave in Adullam. That's the name of the area. And there's a garrison of Philistine troops nearby. And so David's talking to 3 of his mighty men, and this is what David says in 2 Samuel chapter 23, verses 15 through 17. David says to his 3, he says among his troops, he says, and David longed and said, and I have this in big bold red print, oh, that one would give me drink of water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. And I have this in big bold red print for a reason. Because David's being sarcastic. I want you to understand that. David's being sarcastic right now. He's in a cave holed up with some of his most valiant troops. And there's a garrison of Philistines nearby. And David says sarcastically, oh, that one would give me a drink of water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. This well of water that David's talking about just happens to be guarded by this garrison of Philistines. The Bible says, and the 3 mighty men broke through the host of Philistines and drew water out of the well Bethlehem that was by the gate and took it and brought it to David. Now I have this in big bold red print. It says, nevertheless he would not drink thereof, but poured it out unto the Lord. Now, why would he do a thing like that? Soapman gonna break it down for you. And he said, be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? Therefore, he would not drink it. These things did these 3 mighty men, the Bible says. Now let old Soapman unpack what just happened for y'all. David's in a cave. He's with his boys. He with his best boys, his baddest boys. He's looking over across the landscape at this garrison of troops blocking, blocking a well of water. They're guarding their, what's the word I'm looking for? They hogging the water. Yeah, they blocking the water. My mama watching, y'all. My mama watching. They hogging the water. And so David says sarcastically, David knows what he's working with. This dude is smart. Watch the genius of David at work. David says sarcastically among his troops, knowing full well what he's working with, knowing full well what's at his disposal. Is Soapman showing you how to read between the lines? Because you think these people walking around with halos around their head, and I'm not saying they're not, but these people are smart. They know what they're doing. They can be low down. Smart people can be low down in ways that will never cross your mind until the mousetrap is snapping your vertebrae. Yeah. So David says sarcastically, would I be so grateful if someone went and got me a cup of water? I'm parched. I'm so parched. Yeah, that's what he did. He put on a show. Oscar award-winning nomination. David's putting on a show. And his men, David knows what he's doing. His men say, "Nay, ne'er-do-well. Nay, sire, I'll stop the infidels." And this group comes as three. It says, the three mighty men of David, they broke through the troop. Now look at that. Look here. They don't say nothing about these men. These men could have been Andre the Giants, okay? These men could have been Goldbergs. They don't go into detail. These dudes could have been giants. We talked about giants in the last few episodes. We've talked about giants many times throughout my tenure. So we don't know if these were some big lumbering, Hulk smash, overbearing, bad breakfasts, behemoths. We just know they came in three. They came in three. And knowing how the good Lord worked, they was probably all 4.5 feet tall. Or maybe not. But David, he doesn't drink the water. Now I know to a lot of y'all like, oh, David, he's so holy. Oh God, he's so righteous. And maybe he is. But Soapman tends to think that he knew what he was doing from the start. Soapman, and for reasons I won't get into, I covered this. Go watch my episode, The Genius of David. This man, I'm not gonna go into his genius. But because I believe he is a genius, I believe David plans and sees these things and they play out exactly how he plans them. He pours out the water. He says, I dare not, after you've risked your life. Look, man, I could spend a whole episode on this. Because I feel like my psychic powers is telling me a lot of y'all is rolling y'all eyes saying, Soapman, you looking too deep into this and you going too far. But I've been looking at this longer. There's a pattern of this behavior with the Hebrews, from Abraham down to Isaac to Jacob to Moses to David, and it continues as far as they continue even to this day. These people are smart. They know what they're doing, and they are thinking 20 steps ahead of you. They are playing chess, not checkers. You better know that. You better listen to the Soapman. Anywho, 2 Samuel chapter 23, verses 18 through 23 reads, And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among three. Here we go, talking about the three again. That lets you know Soapman ain't lying to you. Each one of these first 5 individuals come in 3. It's a trio. And the individual that we're talking about is the chiefest among those 3. Let me read this again. It says, and Abishai. Abishai is David's nephew. He is also one of David's generals, one of the generals in David's army. It says, and Abishai, the brother of Joab, who is also one of David's nephews, the son of Zeruiah, who was David's sister. It says, he was chief among 3. Okay? It says, and he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them and had the name among the 3. I have in big bold red print. Was he not most honorable of 3? Therefore, he was their captain. Howbeit, he attained not unto the first 3. Now let's break that down. Okay? Let's break that down. Let's break it down. Now, we've talked about Abishai quite a bit. Okay? But first, I just want to say that I wasn't lying to you about the three. Because it don't always say, out of these first five individuals, it doesn't always say this was best of the three. Soapman is letting you know that each one of these individuals, each one of these first five individuals that we talking about, Yashabin, Eleazar, Shammah, and now we're talking about Abishai. He's number 4. They're one of 3, okay? Now we've talked about Abishai quite a bit. He's one of my favorites. He's David's nephew. He's a general in David's army, and in my opinion, he is David's most loyal confidant. He is David's most loyal warrior. He is an apt, deft, habile, savant man of war. He's the bee's knees. This is the creme de la creme. Now, let's go back and look what it says. It says, was he not most honorable of the 3? It says, he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them at one time and had the name among the 3. Was he not most honorable of the 3? Therefore, he was their captain. Howbeit, he attained not unto the first 3. These first 3 individuals that we talked about, and Yashabin was the chiefest among them. Those 3 are the baddest that David has to offer. It's the best he has to offer in his army. And here comes Abishai. He's also one of 3. Now these 3 that Abishai is a part of, they're brothers. Abishai, of which Abishai is the oldest. Joab is in the middle, and the youngest is a Saul. Okay, so Abishai, you have this stand-up, loyal oak tree of a warrior. You could not ask for better. Even though Abishai is no Yashabin. Abishai only slays 300 men with the spear. Oh, only 300. But compared to Yashabin's 800, which is more than twice as many as Abishai slays, Abishai is no Yashabin. That's clear. But in any other army, look at the hardware that David's army brings. One dude slaying 300, another dude slaying 800. In any other army, Abishai would be Achilles. He's such a rock-hard foundation, you couldn't ask for better. But make no mistake, Abishai's no angel. He's cut from the same cloth as his brother Joab. And both Joab and Abishai are cut from the same cloth as David. And that's why I'm letting you know, these men are no angels. Joab is the proof. Joab is as shady and ambitious as shady and ambitious can get. At the same time, he is as able-bodied, as clever, as witty, as mighty, as valiant as anyone in this army. But he does not attain, throughout his career, he does not attain that status. He doesn't even attain the status of his brother Abishai because he's so shady. Joab is a complete murderer, a cutthroat. He will kill you, he will slit your throat and be eating him a bowl of fruity pebbles before you're even done bleeding out. Some might even spill over in his milk, and I don't think he would stop eating it. Joab is such a peculiar, interesting character to the Soapman because he is as bad as he is good. But Abishai, it says, of the 3 brothers, he is the most honorable of the three. It says, and the Bible says, and so that he was therefore their captain. When Joab fell out of favor with King David, David made Abishai the captain over Joab to demote him and humiliate him and let him know, I'm mad at you. But Abishai, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, Abishai is by far no angel. Joab is a absolute abject murderer, and Abishai is present at if at most, if not at all of those murders. Abishai's right there, joined to the hip with his brother, nodding in approval, saying, good boy, way to get at him. Go get him, break a leg. He's right by Joab's side in support, but yet and still, he still attained a higher status than Joab. He had David's ear more so than Joab. He had David's trust more so than Joab. He had David's confidence more so than Joab. But that's not to take anything. It's complicated. It's so dicey. That's not to take anything from Joab, because indeed, Joab had the ear of the king. He did not have his trust. He did not have his loyalty. But he had his confidence. David was absolutely confident that Joab was going to kill somebody, and David was also absolutely confident that Joab was going to carry out his orders to a T. But Abishai, he didn't have those flaws that Joab had. He didn't have the ambition that Joab had. He didn't have the disloyalty that Joab had. He didn't come with the baggage of Joab. And yet and still, he still carried more of David's water than Joab did. And believe me, Joab carried a lot of David's water. Joab did a lot of David's dirt. 2 Samuel chapter 23 verses 18 through 23 reads, and Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among the three, and he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them, and had the name among the three. Was he not most honorable of three? Therefore he was their captain, howbeit attained not unto the first three. And lastly, we come to Benaiah. The Bible says, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts. I have this in big, bold, red print, and this is like a paragraph, okay? It says, he slew 2 lion-like men of Joab. Oh, what does that mean? We'll have to unpack that. It says, he went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in time of snow. Man, that's a lot to unpack. It says, and he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man. And the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but he went down to him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. These things did Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and had the name among the three. Once again, here the Bible states that he's one of three. I just keep re-emphasizing and reiterating that to let you know I wasn't lying. I wasn't lying. When it don't say, when it don't talk about three, you just have to take my word for it. Trust me. It says, these things did Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and had the name among 3 mighty men. He was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not to the first 3. And David set him over his guard. So we end with a bang. Benaiah. Let me explain to you off rip exactly what Benaiah is. Benaiah is Rookie of the Year. He's the next generation of Abishai and Yashabin. The Bible said he was more honorable than 30. David had 37 of these captains in all. He was most honorable than the 30. But he attained not the status of the first three. Well, let's talk about what Benaiah did. The Bible says he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. Now, what the hell does that mean? I'll tell you what it means to Soapman, because that's all I can tell you. Now, common sense would tell you that meant that these individuals were big and bulky and strong and tough, or something in that ballpark arena. But Soapman thinks they're talking about giant descendants. Ogre-like orc beast of men. Giant descendants is what the Soapman thinks the Bible's talking about. And the Bible says he defeats 2 lion-like men of Moab. Doesn't say if he does it at the same time, but still, do it matter? I guess it do a little bit. But if that wasn't enough for you, the Bible says he defeats a lion in a snowy pit, during the time of snow. Now, when the last time have you heard a tale like that? When the last time you ever heard of somebody whooping a lion, let alone in a snowy pit? But that's what the Bible claims Benaiah did. So right there, the Bible is letting you know you're talking about a David-type caliber individual. This is one of the mighty men in David's army. And Soapman believes this is what it means when God's on your side. Your help isn't... You know how people say it's so hard to find good help? Well, it wasn't hard for David to find good help. This man defeated 2 lion-like men, defeated a lion in a snowy pit, and he's not even the best that David's army has to offer. He comes in, he didn't attain to the first 3. Well, damn. I would not want to fight the least of these men. I would not want to fight the last man on the totem pole if you got men whooping lions, and lions is like men. And it doesn't stop there. First of all, let me comment on this. We don't know what Benaiah looked like. Don't get caught up in the visuals here, okay? They're purely for entertainment. They look good. We don't know what this man looked like, okay? All we know is how he got down. And the man had some get up and get about him. Okay? This ain't somebody to be trifled with. He killing lions in snowy pits. He killing lion-like men's. These is men that you call a man. Okay? These ain't boys. These lions and lion-like individuals. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, the Bible says he defeats an Egyptian man. Now, the Bible says this man is goodly. And what that means is tall. But you know if you know Soapman, you know what Soapman's thinking. Yup. Giant descendant. Probably a 7-footer or around there. The Bible says this guy's goodly. He's not quite a giant. And the Bible says this man has a spear in his hand, but Benaiah goes down to him with a staff. He plucks the spear out of this gigantic man's hands and kills him with his own weapon. Further attestation of how bad can get when you're talking about Benaiah. Now, we haven't talked about this yet. And we're not going to talk about it for a while, because I'm going to be honest with you. Soapman don't know how long he going to be doing this. Yeah. Hate to tell you. But Benaiah is going to get promoted after David dies. Benaiah, with these feats, he hasn't come to the pinnacle of his success during David's days. See, when David passes on, David is succeeded by his son Solomon. And Solomon promotes Benaiah pretty high on the totem pole. He's his right-hand man. Now, during David's days, he fell out with his nephew Joab on more than one occasion. And before he dies, he tells his son Solomon, Joab must be punished. And Solomon, being a good son, keeps his word to his father David to punish Joab, which would be Solomon's cousin. Benaiah is Solomon's right-hand man, and so he has Benaiah kill Joab. And Joab runs in places and grabs the horns of the altar, thinking that he'll be saved by running to the church. After all the dirt Joab's done, and after all the blood, his hands are blood-soaked. And in his last days, in his last moments, he wraps those blood-tainted hands around the horns of the altar, thinking it's going to save him. And Benaiah drags him off the altar and slays him in front of it. That's just a little spoiler alert. Folks, we ain't going to keep you too long. We going to end here with Benaiah. But I hope I've driven my point home with these individuals that this is more than help. These assets to David, these resources at his disposal, being the genius that he is, knowing exactly how to manipulate and deploy and use these invaluable resources and assets, knowing how to place them and move them like chess pieces on a chessboard. This is what I think it looks like when the Bible says God is with David. This is what it means for God to be on your side. It ain't hard to find good help. Think Benaiah, think Eleazar, think my great furthest removed grandpappy Shammah, son of Ag, the Hararite. Think of the three mighty warriors that went and got David some water that he didn't drink. Once again, folks, we gonna end this episode. We've completed a brief synopsis on these first 5 individuals, not including the 3 that fought as 3. But what I want to leave you with is these first 5 individuals that we talked about, from left to right: Eleazar, Shammah, Abishai, Benaiah, and Yashabin. Folks, these are probably the baddest dudes on the planet. They are the creme de la creme of David's military might. They each are one of 3. So there are 15 in all. But these 5 individuals are golden. They are irreplaceable. Who wouldn't want any one of these individuals within their ranks and people like them? Remember, they're each one of 3. So there's 15 if you include, each one of these individuals with their 2 counterparts. But there are 37 captains in all. And we'll discuss the remaining mighty valiant men in my next episode. Sorry for stumbling over the outro, but I one take these episodes. Ain't no dress rehearsal. Straight up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Son of a Preacher Man. If you got any comments, likes, dislikes, or compliments, please leave them in the comments section. If you got any topics you want me to discuss, please leave them in the comments section. If you want to just argue and debate, get at your boy. Until next time, I'll see you. See, that ain't sound right. Until next time, same soap time, same soap channel. This is Soapman signing off. Deuces.